Welcome to Business Day, where we focus on trends, tips, tools, and tales to educate, entertain, and inform. Today, we welcome Rex Sikes, the creator of Mind Design, and is also well known as a Master NLP Trainer, hypnotist, and whole brain training expert. Rex just released his book, Life on Your Terms, a powerful practical manual with a fresh take on personal growth, business success, and transformation that's infused with love, wisdom, innovative ideas, principles, and practices that help you to begin creating and living the life you want. I'm Lisa Kanda, marketing strategist and founder of LK Advisors, and I'm joined by my co-host, Deb Fry, leadership development at Fryworks and Associates.
Hello, it's so good to be back with you, Lisa, and great to meet Rex Sikes. I can't wait to get started with this interview.
Yes, I'm excited too. So as I mentioned, Rex brings his insights to the dig today. Deb and I have been digging to explore kinds of tools to help people in these challenging times, especially business owners who are balancing many changes as states reopen and are just really grasping to get really good tools that can help them move forward. Rex is joining us to help us learn more about how to alleviate stress, create joy and success by learning to focus your thoughts. In today's broadcast, we hope you'll discover how to create a champion mindset and a victor mentality to harness your dreams and desires using Rex's simple and powerful techniques. In his book, he gives you pages of real-life principles proven to change lives, and the book is now available on Amazon. We're going to give you a link to that in our description. I've had the pleasure of knowing Rex for almost 20 years. I've known of Rex longer than 20 years. I purchased one of his self-help at-home courses, I think in the mid-90s. We were just kind of talking about that before we went live, and then actually went to his 10-day NLP training course about 20 years ago, and still today use many of those tools that I learned there. He has a wonderful tool called the Attitude Activator that I still use today and listen to. And even some of the things I was just saying earlier, brushing your teeth with the opposite hand. I mean, and Rex will talk more about how those things are helpful to us. But clearly he has amazing things to offer you as business owners today. And we're hoping that you get some real value out of this. Rex has immense energy. One of the things, again, I remember from when I took his class was, he would walk into the room and you could feel the energy of what he brought, his curiosity and his willingness to really want you to learn and to really change your life. I mean, his commitment to that is pretty amazing. And it just makes me even want him to bring what he has to our listeners more today. So let's get started.
Well, Rex, let's get started with some questions. I'd love to know more about you, your background, and certainly how you've helped people with your work. So share a little bit with our listeners about what you've been doing to help people.
Well, Deb and Lisa, first let me say I am humbled and I am honored and I'm thankful and enthused to be here. This is a marvelous opportunity for each and every one of us who's listening and watching and we who are discussing. And I thank you for that, and I appreciate your kindness and your generosity in having me on your show. So, thank you. So, I wrote the book that we're talking about, Life on Your Terms, because for the same reason why I got into training about 40 years ago, and I wanted to tell the story a little bit, and then put some of the principles that I've been teaching all those 40 years out so that more and more people could use them to transform their lives or transform your life. Most people, myself included, live in fear and have lived in negativity. I found out that I was an incredible master of creating crap in my life. I could create all sorts of problems, but I wasn't very good at creating what I wanted. I'd say I want this, and then I would get the opposite. And I was skydiving. I mean, now I live the life of my dreams, and I have for many, many years, but that wasn't always the case. A skydiving accident caused me to go to a doctor who prescribed a combination of pills that led to, I should have died is what should have happened, but they considered at the time, they considered me a medical miracle. I survived it. I didn't go comatose, although almost. But through that experience, I ended up creating more crap, losing girlfriend, losing relationships, killing a career, and just going to the bottom. I was about 25 years old. And at a certain point, a friend of mine said, you're going to die. I mean, everything you're doing, you're going to die. And I realized I didn't want to die, although I was living like I did and that I would. So I locked myself in my apartment, and I had been a student of Napoleon Hill and hypnosis since I was a child, 11 years old. I used to have my mom read me the Vedas and the Bhagavad Gita when I was like 7, 8 years old. So I said, I'm going to start using this hypnosis. I'm going to affirm. I'm going to visualize. I'm going to get my life back in order. And I locked myself in my apartment. I did get up to pee, and I did go out to get some food when I needed it. But otherwise, I stayed in the apartment. I sat in a chair, and I literally went inside, and I started to say, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And what I found was most of my brain said, no, you can't. Look at what you've done. You're no good. This is all the crap you've created in your life, and you're never going to be any different. And it bothered me, and I started to think, how am I ever going to get out of this? What do I need to do in order to change my life? And instead of saying, how long is it going to take me? I'd go, how quickly can I do this? I want to get back outside. I want to live with people. What I realized was I was asking myself questions, and I didn't know the answers. The amazing thing about the brain, when you ask yourself a question that you don't know the answer to, is that your brain will work on it for a long, long time. So, for example, if I say, what's the capital of Arizona, and you know the answer, you're done. Your brain shuts down. It doesn't need to go any further. But if you go, do you know how much delight you could experience today? You don't know, and your brain doesn't know. Now, you could say, nothing, I won't. But your brain, if you honestly ask your brain, how delighted can I find myself being today? Your brain will work on it in the same exact way that it works on it when you can't remember something. You know that tip of the tongue phenomenon where you go, oh, who was that person? What was that person's name? Oh, and the harder you try to get it, the more it seems elusive. So what happens is you either deliberately relax and go, all right, it'll come to me, don't worry about it, or you get distracted and you go on with something else, and an hour later or a day later or a week later, you go, oh, it was, and you now have the answer because your brain keeps going outside of your consciousness to find answers. So what I had inadvertently done was I stumbled on the fact that I'm trying to affirm and I'm not getting anywhere. And I started asking questions that I didn't know the answer to. And my brain started to deliver me things like, how soon can I be confident? What do I have to do to be confident? Where can I feel confident? And so the brain would start dropping hints and dropping indications. And so after a while, I started to feel better and I started to be more confident. And the more confident I became, I went, well, how much more confident can I become? How much easier can this get? And I would find that it would get easier and it would get better. So I developed and started to teach something called directed questions back in the early 80s, which became part of my mind design program, which is about how do you design your life and your mind and your mindset so that you think positively and powerfully and feel wonderfully, and then do the things that you need to do in order to live the life that you deserve and the life that you desire and the life that only you can create. Because a lot of people, like I said, I wished and I wanted to be better, but I had to create it. And that's what I discovered during that 6 weeks. And people always say, Rex, do I have to sit in my apartment for 6 weeks like you did? And the answer is no, I've done that work for you. And I put it in my book and I put it in my classes so that you can change powerfully and transform more easily and readily than ever before. And lastly, what I'll say is a lot of times people have a method or an approach where they'll say, here's 60 ways to change your life. Well, you don't need 60. You're never going to remember 60. You need a few easy principles that are powerful and a few simple practices that you do repeatedly, consistently, correctly for long enough until it gets wired in. And enough baby steps in the right direction will take you all the way to the top of Mount Everest. So it's drop by drop, the tub gets filled. You create little wins along the way, and the more you win, the more you win. The more you succeed, the more success you have. So it's designed to be generative and to allow you to begin to move from where you don't want to be to where you want to be. and to enjoy it all along the way.
Rex, what you're saying is so much about what I do in my work to help clients own their lives. And I tell them every day, you can change your life, you can change the way things are going, but guess what? It's on you. Nobody else is going to change it. You have to make the changes here before it happens. It's
You know what,
exactly
people,
right.
It's so amazing because people, here's one thing that when you were little, somebody fed you, but at a certain point you started feeding yourself. And now, unless there's a neurological or physical reason why you can't feed yourself, you have to feed yourself. And yet people go, I want my life to change. Somebody change it for me, or somebody give me this, or somebody do this for me. But you have to feed yourself just the same way you have to put your socks on, you have to put your clothes on. If you want to go somewhere, you probably have to get in a car or make arrangements for it. People spend more time planning, things like a vacation or to go to the movie than they do to plan out their life, to make it work for them. So
which is a great segue to this awesome book, because I have the Kindle version, and of course I've taken some of your work, so I'm familiar with it. But give us an idea of, especially with these times, this book came out now. I know you have something else in the works, which will hopefully get you back on for when that comes out. That's really relatable to today's times. But what you've released now is extremely valuable, I think, just based on what you're sharing. So the book is out now. Give us a little bit about where that came from and how that can impact someone right now if they dive in.
As I said, it's about learning how to take charge of your life, and instead of creating crap, start creating the good stuff. So it's based in taking action. Now, one of the things you don't have to do, and I think is a complete misnomer, it's useful once in a while, but it's not useful forever, is this notion of taking massive action. You don't have to take massive action. You have to do the right things at the right amount size. Like I said, baby steps, enough baby steps in the right direction will take you to Mount Everest. You don't leap to the top of Mount Everest, you climb Mount Everest. Massive action is okay when you need that extra push. But what you need most of the time is a consistent way of being, of thinking, of feeling, and behaving that bring you and move you closer to what it is that you want to accomplish or you want to do. What's really powerful about this is this book. It's called Life on Your Terms, because what I want you to do is take back your life. I want you to claim it. I want you to own it. You were born to be on this planet. And where I came into my power after the incident that I described was I realized if I'm going to live here, I should live like an owner. And so I own the planet. And my friends in Hollywood hate it when I say I own LA. This is my town. Obviously, I have lots of co-owners. I'm not trying to say I'm the only one. But I'm saying I live in the world as if I own it. So I take care of it. And so if my life is something I own, I take care of my life. I don't live haphazardly. It doesn't mean that I'm plotting every second. But what it means is that I've taken hold of my mind and my mindset so that my mind is mostly positive, not mostly negative. And I feel mostly good, not mostly bad. And the behaviors that arise from feeling that you can do something and that you feel good mostly become the right actions to take along the way. In other words, I don't want to create resistance. I don't want to, the reason why I say that is when I was affirming in that chair, and what most people do is they stand in front of the mirror and they go, I'm my ideal weight. And their brain goes, no, you're not. You go, I am rich. And it goes, no, you're not, you're broke. But if you start to understand that your brain is only doing what it's learned to do while growing up from experiences. It's only repeating mental habits, thought habits, over and over and over again to keep you the same and to keep you consistent, because that's what the brain does. It's got two things: keep you consistent and keep you alive. It doesn't judge whether you smoke as good or bad, or whether you eat healthy food as being wonderful. It just goes, whatever you do, it will perpetuate. So if you're mostly negative and mostly fearful and mostly scared and mostly distracted, it will continue to do that because that's what it knows to do. It's really your friend. It's your ally. It goes, this is what you taught me to do. I'm going to do it for you. And you don't even have to think about it. It's the most amazing thing is it will do all your bad habits for you because it loves you, but it doesn't judge you. So what you want to do is teach it how to do good habits instead of bad habits. You want to wire in those things that get you the kind of outcomes, the results, the behaviors, the changes, the money, the relationships, the happiness that you want. So it starts with a thought. And if you're thinking right, then you begin to feel right. So you want to go from being 50-50, you know, sometimes good, sometimes bad, to 51% good, 55% good, 58% good. You want to increase the amount of time that you spend feeling wonderful, thinking wonderfully, because as you do, that's how your life changes. If you're just going back and forth all the time, you're stuck. You're not getting anywhere. It's like when you're rocking your car and you can't get out of a ditch or you can't get out of the snow. You're going forward, going back, going forward, going back. You know, make a little progress, a little back. So what you want to do is you want to increase little by little, win by win, success by success, little by little, the things that move you from being stuck and where you don't want to be to where you do want to be. So you take charge of your thoughts, you manage your mindset. When you do that, think a positive thought, you then begin to feel good. If you think a negative thought, I mean, if you think, boy, that sucks, I'll never be able to do that, and you feel bad, that doesn't get you anywhere. You know what I mean? In other words, if you feel bad, then you're likely to think another negative thought, and so it spirals down. If you think a positive thought and you feel good, you're likely to think a positive thought, so you can spiral up. So it really comes down to this. My whole approach is you have dog crap or diamonds. Choose. You want to put dog crap all over yourself, or you want to dress yourself in diamonds? Every moment of the day, you have a choice. You're either increased and positive and feeling good and feeling wonderful, or you're not. And if you're not, it's because it's a choice, whether it's a conscious choice or a choice you made long ago that you're living from out of habit. And if you're living from it out of habit and it's not serving you the way you want it to be served, you need to make a new choice. So choose diamonds instead of dog crap. Dog crap or diamonds, dog crap or diamonds. It's your choice. And the funny part about it is a lot of people take dog crap and they put it all over themselves and they wear it proudly and they don't realize that they could be wearing diamonds instead. So if you think right and you feel right, then what happens is you are more apt to take the right actions that lead you to the kind of results that you want to be having. And if you don't think right, you don't feel right, you take either no actions because you don't feel like doing anything, or you take wrong actions out of desperation or fear or frustration or anger or sadness that lead you to outcomes that you do not want. So
what do you think, Deb?
You know, I'm listening to him. Of course, we obviously are of like mind. I can see that. And I tell people quite often the planning, a lot of people don't like rules. They don't like structure. And right. So you mentioned a term like goal planning. You can watch them instantly go sound asleep.
Sure.
We're going to work on goal planning. But the way I put it in context when I'm doing my work with my clients is, if you have a plan, a very positive plan, doesn't have to be a big deal. It could be a really little deal. 2 or 3 things that you've planned out that are really positive, make you feel good. Well, if I achieve some of those things, that's good. If I don't, then that goes on the plan for tomorrow. But I tell people, if you have a plan, it gives you the freedom to be goofy on the side. You know, as long as you've got the road to get back on. Once you've ridden in the ditch in your bike, oh, good, now I can get back on the road again so I can have a smoother ride. Those rules give you that structure to get goofy, to be creative, to break down the rules that restrict you. And the platform and procedures and policies that a lot of people put in place, I see as guidelines, not laws. And you lay those plans out for yourself in a positive way every day, you're going to achieve more.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I would add that, and I'm not saying anything that you don't know, but a lot of people don't like the house they're in. They want to tear it down and get a new house. So they're all about tearing the house down. But until you decide what kind of house you want in its place, all you're doing is destroying the old house or fighting the old house, or, you know. So you have to decide, and in order to build a new house, you have to determine what you want and then draw up the plans, and then you gather your resources and your team. You may have to spend some money or whatever, but then you start to build the house, and while you're building the house, you may have to make adjustments along the way. And so based on your blueprint, you then make whatever adjustments until you build the house to the specifications that you desire. Well, the same is true about your life, but you don't have to you should make a plan, but it's not important that you know how you're going to succeed as much as that you are going to succeed. I always say this, the Wright brothers, and I love them by example, because prior to the Wright brothers, there was no heavier than air travel. There were balloons that people could take, but there wasn't the airplane. The Wright brothers decided, as they were bicycle machines, shop makers, they were going to try to create an airplane. All the while that they were working at trying to fly, they didn't know how to fly. They only knew how to fly once they flew. This is the thing that most people miss. They think, I have to know what to do. I need to know this. I got to plan that. I got to do all this. They just kept experimenting and were wrong up until the time they flew. But they didn't let being wrong, or what people would call failure, or even their own father who said, you guys are idiots. Stop this. Everybody thinks you're a loser. This is the dumbest thing. If man were meant to fly, blah, blah, blah. They just kept doing it. They said, nope, we're going to fly. One brother said to the other at one point, he said, you think we're going to do this? He said, in my mind, I see us flying. It's happening. It's going to happen. That's what you need to do. You need to know that you can do it and be certain that you will do it, and then take whatever action you need in order to bring it about. You're going to experiment. You're going to get feedback. You're going to fall on your face. You're going to do all sorts of things. But if you can have a fun time doing it and not operate out of desperation, but operate out of feeling excited and thrilled that every, Edison said, I learned 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb. So he didn't put it in terms of failure. He put it in terms of success. So success breeds success. And how crazy that is, and I am not an advocate of this, but there are lottery winners who have won multiple lotteries. And why do they win multiple lotteries? Because they played them. And I don't advocate playing. I'm not saying to do that. But what I'm saying is they consistently play. And so statistically, they're more likely to win than somebody who does it once in a while. So, Napoleon Hill said the biggest problem with people is that they just drift. They don't have a plan for their life. They don't live their purpose. They don't create a mission or a vision. They just bounce from thing to thing to thing to thing, and they take this job and that job, and they never get anywhere because they've never decided, I am going to do this, and that's my future. And in order to have your future, you just live in the future. You imagine what you want, and you imagine yourself having it now, and you make it so real, and you go, that's what I'm going to do. And then you start moving in that direction, and you go as far as you can go, as far as you can see. And when you get there, you'll see that much further, but it'll be just like the Wright brothers. You won't know it until you do it. And once you do it, now you have it was for me. That's what I was trying to get at in my apartment, and I'm still learning, but I'm not done. I'm still learning all the time. But in my apartment, I didn't know what I was doing. I was experimenting. I was trying things, and it wasn't working. And then suddenly I hit on something. And once I hit on it, I got this massive release. Now, I still had to go through a healing process. It wasn't like one day I was down totally out, and the next day I was this enlightened being that was like going, wow, life is beautiful. I still had to get my life back, win my friends back, get my career back. Those were things I had to do. But I now had an attitude, not hence the attitude activator. I now had an attitude that served me and moved me forward, as opposed to being a victim of circumstances and blaming the doctors and blaming the people and blaming everybody who, had contributed to my situation. I took charge of my life, and that's what you and anyone can do, is to take charge of your life and live your life as a victor, as a champion. And that's why I always call it the gladiator or the Game of Thrones attitude. You go, bring me your best swordsman, that I will defeat them. You don't know, bring me the wimpiest person that I can trounce. In fact, when David faced Goliath, Goliath goes, what, you send me this boy? Are you kidding me? Are you serious? And David said, this day God will prevail. And, whether it's a story or whether it's true, the example is this little guy said, we win today, and won.
I got a question for you, though, because I love everything you're saying. I totally believe in your approach, but I'm going to challenge something as far as what's going on today, because many people don't hear that. They're based in fear for a lot of legitimate reasons. You have to, with what is going on today in the world, legitimately, there's fear, but there are also a lot of bad habits. Like you said, so. one of the things I know, having worked with you as well as just in my own practice and working with Deb, is curiosity is a really important part of this. And then looking at your habits to change your attitude. So give us some tips for those who may be stuck, those who may be still in fear in old habits right now, as what they could do in some of those little baby steps that you mentioned.
Sure. Okay, it's a great question. And let me preface it by saying this: you only become aware of what you become aware of when you become aware of it. So there are people who will hear this and it won't make any sense to them no matter what. And they might hear it today and tomorrow 100 times, and then 3 years down the road, they go, oh my God, I get it. It's like we all sleep and we wake up at different times, and that's totally okay. But whether you're awake or not awake, you can begin to implement certain things that can make a difference. If you want your life to change, you got to change some things in your life. It's just the way it goes. You can't keep doing the same things time and time again and expect it to be different. Because if you're doing the same thing over and over again, all you're doing is recreating the past. And if the past is part of your problem, then all you're doing is recreating your problem. And fear is just a thought. If you think I can't do it, or this is overwhelming, or this sucks, and there's all these forces that oppose me, realize that that is a thought. And probably a chronic thought that one thinks habitually over and over again. That thought needs to change. If you don't believe something is possible, you're never going to ever try. If the Wright brothers didn't think that they could fly, they weren't even going to bother to explore it. So if you start from a defeated attitude that nothing is anywhere is good or anything, that's the first thing you have to address. You have to stop. When I was in the chair in my apartment, I was going, there's no way. I'm stuck. I'm screwed. I'm a total failure. I've screwed everything in my life. Nothing's going to change. But at a certain point, I realized I don't want to die, and I can't live this way. So I got to do something. So for me, I had to lock myself in a room. But you have to start with the notion that something different is possible. And how do you do that? Well, you begin by being curious. What could be different? What might be different? When you were a child, you could watch a butterfly for hours, or caterpillar or something. You got really curious. How did they do this? Where do they go? What do they do? How, and so the same kind of thing, but you need to ask questions that move you in a good direction. Not if you say, why does this always happen to me? Why does life suck? Why am I a bad puppy? How come nothing ever works out? Why am I broke? How come they got money and I don't? You're asking the wrong questions that keep you stuck. You got to start asking new questions like, how quickly can I discover that things aren't the way they appear? That even though things seem adverse, I can find ways to change them. We talk about the notion of reframing, and it's become a popular word in therapy and everything else. To reframe means to put a different picture around it, or put a different frame around whatever it is you're perceiving or your point of view. Now, you don't ever have to ignore a circumstance. So, if you have no money and the bank is going to foreclose, one of the things, you can't ignore it because the bank is going to foreclose. You don't want to ignore it. You don't want to pretend that it's not happening, but you also don't want to give it energy. So instead of going, oh my God, and telling everybody every time you see them and talking to yourself, which is what people do, that the bank is going to close, I'm a loser, I'm never going to have it. You want to start saying, you know what? If somebody says, how you doing? You go, I'm in a situation right now that a lot of people would say is extremely challenging. And I'm exploring opportunities for how I can find resources to go through this more easily. You don't ever have to say it's tough, it's struggle, I can't do it, it sucks. You want to affirm or to point yourself in a direction of what is possible that I could discover tomorrow that might bring me some relief or cause me to be more successful in the future. How can I use what I have now, or who do I need to go to that could help me? Where can I find resources? What do I need to learn? How can I apply what I know? How easily can I discover myself changing and take baby steps towards doing that? One of the first things you can do is to spend time reading some motivational material. And I don't mean motivational in the rah-rah, you can do it stuff. I mean, to find stuff that inspires you, that makes you feel good, that uplifts you. Hang around with people who are more positive. Find mentors and coaches and a cheering squad that can help you get through it, because you don't have to go through it alone. don't choose to be around the energy vampires and the people who will say you're stupid, you're never going to do this, it won't work. Those people, like the Wright brothers' father, he said, you guys are idiots. You know, you want to find the people who go, you know what, I know you're going through a struggle right now, but you got this, you know, and I'm here for you. I got your back. You know, I can help you. What do you need? You know?
And I'm finding that more and more, you know, in my circles of business owners and whatnot, that collaboration and that lifting up, you know, the rising tide. And you have to find those people. You have to connect to those people. You do not want to be around the naysayers or the ones who think, you know, oh, my business is closing, I can't get customers, you know, this is going to last forever, blah, blah, blah. Well, no, it's not going to last forever. We don't know what is going to happen. There's no playbook anymore. We have no idea what's going to happen. But that leaves for so much opportunity. I've seen so many people pivot. You know, we've used that word pretty freely now, but it's so true. People who've gotten, you know, huge business opportunities because they thought differently. Exactly to your point, Rex. You know, changing their questions.
So here's something the Attitude Activator, a very powerful program, has been you've used it now for 20 years. People have been using it. It's a bestseller around the world. The reason why it took me a year to orchestrate, to architect that, because I didn't want to have to make multiple tapes or audios. I wanted to do one that could be a template for a lot of different changes that a person can make. And attitude is the number one indicator for success, according to research, that if your attitude is right, you're more apt to succeed than if your attitude is wrong. The same is true in health. If your attitude toward the treatment is that the treatment's going to work, you're more apt to find that the treatment works than if you don't. We know this through placebo and nocebo studies, and we won't go into that now at this time, but the point being, activate your attitude and you can accomplish nearly anything. And attitude doesn't just mean being pumped up. It can mean being serenely confident, calm. It can mean being silly and goofy. It can mean anything, but you choose the attitude that you need for what you're going through. But here's the thing. In the Attitude Activators, there's an important principle, and I'll give it away right now, but it's worth having the Attitude Activator. When you're stuck, when you have a problem, you have to stop. So the Attitude Activator has 5 stages that you go through. And one is that it kind of agitates. It gives you a taste of what's wrong. And then goes, stop. Be different. You have to stop. You have to pivot. You have to, I call it a shift. You stop. It's like stop, drop, and roll. There's 3 things to know what to do to change. You have to stop doing what you do so you no longer perpetuate it. You take a breath. You take a deep pause so that you interrupt the pattern, so that you're not having it linger. You actually stop it. It's like when you go to a stop sign and it's called all 4-wheel stop. You stop, not roll through. You stop, take a pause, take a deep breath, and then you shift and be different. And you shift to what you can do, what could be possible, and you start telling yourself these different things. And of course, the Attitude Activator fills that in and helps program you so that you learn the process while you're listening to the tape, whether you're sleeping or awake. But the point is to learn the process of stop, take a pause, breathe, and then shift. And if you know that, and I talk about it in my book, if you know that, you can accomplish nearly anything. It's don't keep doing what you're always doing. Be willing to do something different. If you want your life to change, you got to change some things. What does it mean to stop? You got to stop talking to yourself the way you were talking to yourself. You can't talk to people. Misery loves company. People commiserate over bad things that are going on in the world over there. How you doing? Oh, I can't tell you, you know, I have this problem, or my health is this, and they go on and on. Or the barista this morning at the coffee shop was a jerk, and I can't, you know, somebody gave me the finger on the freeway, and they're talking about it all day long, and they're talking about it a week later. You've got to stop perpetuating what you don't want, what isn't useful, what's hurting, harming you and others. Stop, take a breath, and shift to what it is that you do want to include. You want, you know, there's dog, crap, or diamonds. There's either thriving or withering. There's either living or dying. There's either increase or decrease. There's either expansion or contraction. In other words, there's tall and short. There's hot and cold. There's day and night. You stop what you're doing that is not what you want to be doing and start doing what you do. What does that mean? Well, maybe you need to go take a walk. Maybe you should go help somebody else. If you really have a horrible problem and you feel lost and you can't do anything, go help somebody who's got a worse problem than you, because you'll feel better. You know, I was an actor, and I still am. I still do movies, and but as a young actor, I would go on auditions, and then I go see the movie, and I go, I could have done better than that guy. I can't believe that guy got and I would get angry that somebody was successful. It didn't make me more successful to get angry. What I learned at some point was I had done a play and they wanted me to do another play, and I turned it down. I said, no, I'm not right for that role. I was smart enough to say that. I went to the play and I saw the actor and I went, oh my God, this guy is brilliant. I could never have done that. He is perfect for the part. And I realized that to celebrate somebody else's success is far more important than to be jealous of somebody's success. The rising tide floats the whole boat. You know, the idea is to uplift, to inspire. I have a saying: speak only to bless, heal, inspire, motivate, prosper, and transform. Put a guard before your lips. Stop talking about failure. Stop commiserating with, you know, the bad stuff. Misery loves company, but birds of a feather flock together. So find your positive support group. Find the people who uplift you and whom you can uplift. You know, maybe you need to go get a massage. Maybe you need to take a walk or work in the garden. The ancient mystics knew this years ago. What do you do if you're angry? Count to 10. What is that? It's stop. Don't keep perpetuating the anger. Take a breath. Pause. You know, and then respond instead of react the way you always have. Dog crap or diamonds. It's just coming back to your choice. So
gosh, I'm like, so many great ideas, but I know we're getting close to our time, I believe. But we could go on forever. I do know this. But Deb, I'm gonna punt to you, because do we have any last questions you might have based on what Rex has not touched on before we wrap things up?
I'm thinking of summary thoughts here, and obviously, attitude is contagious, and we understand that. So many of us in this kind of work do. That's one of those things that you have control over. And when you're wanting to attract the kind of people that lift you up, you have to have the attitude that attracts those positive people. And I see that in everything that I'm doing right now with a lot of small businesses. I see restaurants especially being very innovative, surrounding themselves with positive people, saying, okay, well, we didn't make any money last week, so let's change something up this week. And change our menu, change the way we deliver food, whatever. People are doing innovative things right now that are those people are the positive people, and those are the leaders in our small business community. I can see it every day. And the ones that are negative people, like you say, they commiserate, they whine, they go to the local cafe and they cry about what's not happening. But the others are out there making money and they're turning it around. It's an amazing thing to see. It's quite exciting.
I appreciate that. That's very cool. I'm glad you said that.
Rex, it has just been absolutely a delight to meet you and commiserate ourselves a bit about what's going on and how you have been able to help people and how you continue to lift people up in the way they think. I want to thank our listeners for investing their time with us today and learning how to alleviate stress and create joy and the things that you do to help people focus their thoughts. This is an amazing piece of work that you're doing, and I'm looking forward to your next book. In Rex's book, Life on Your Terms, he gives you pages of real life principles proven to change lives. And the book is now available on Amazon. We're going to be providing a link in our description when this video is released. And we hope that this conversation has been not only entertaining, but hopefully very helpful for our listeners and been enlightening. Solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, business owners in our listening audience, do you have a story? Do you have a technique, something that you do that helps others in their quest for success? We want you to share that with us. Send us your interests, your suggestions, your comments to our email at businessdig@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your success stories, of course, and your insights. And you can also comment on our Facebook business page. Key in Business Dig on the Facebook search engine, the search bar, and we can hear from you soon. So thank you again, Rex, for being here and giving us this delightful opportunity to meet with you and talk with you. And Lisa, always a delight. I can't wait till our next show.
Yes, it was wonderful. Thank you again, Rex. It was a pleasure to have you.
It's been wonderful to be here with both of you. You both do incredible work, and your outreach to people is marvelous. It truly is. So I always like to tell people, just celebrate everything. If you consider everything a blessing, everything is a blessing.
Wonderful.
So
Thank
join
you.
us next time, folks, on Business Dig with Lisa Kenda and Deb Fry. We'll see you again very soon.